Thank you so much for having me. My name is Destiny Garcia. I'm the Executive Director of Clean Slate Utah. I usually start with a short video. Well, it's about 8 minutes.
I had a normal life. I was in my late 30s and I had 12-foot surgeries and I was prescribed OxyContin. And so 2.5 years being on that medication, I no doubtedly got a dependence that built up within my body. Never had a charge in my life until I fell into addiction. And that first $10 bag of heroin came about and it was over. I was literally homeless within 2 months. And it just took everything where I felt like I had no soul.
So I was in an abusive relationship for about 7 years. That often led me to emergency rooms and I would get prescribed opiates. I was so completely broken. Physically, mentally, emotionally, my self-esteem was at zero. I was shoplifting every single day to support my habit. I would go to the malls and shoplift and take it back to North Temple and trade for drugs, and I would get arrested over and over again. And I would get booked into jail and released because there were misdemeanor charges.
I was born into a family that had some mental health challenges. We experienced some economic hardship. My involvement in the criminal justice system first started when I was 12 years old. I was arrested for stealing clothes to wear to school.
And you enter treatment and you fight and you fight and you give up everything to find your soul again. I will take that accountability. I did a year every Wednesday of drug court. I complied with every court order. I paid every fine. I complied with my probation officer. I drug tested every week that I had to pay for on a $9 an hour income because that's all I could get despite my professional history.
So I'm going around looking for jobs, applying for jobs. Most people won't even hire me because of my background of retail theft. Part of me wanted to give up because I was hitting this huge wall. I didn't realize how much my record had affected me until I was at that point and ready to start changing my life. It was almost impossible.
And only to get out and be a criminal again. 4.5 years, I'm still facing it. I'm still facing it. I've been through 2 expungements already, thousands of dollars on my misdemeanor substance use charges. There was no end point in sight. Check that little box on employment, don't ever progress. It's just unreal to me, the barriers that were put into place.
You know, our society has become pretty unforgiving. There's just this automatic bar that if they had a misdemeanor conviction, they couldn't get that license or they couldn't get the job, or employers just looked right past them despite all of their wonderful qualities. And that keeps people from being able to contribute to society, to be able to pay their rent, to be able to support their family. And we put up so many obstacles in the old system that people they gave up. They were frustrated. And they were forever stymied, having a record for some minor criminal offense that just was an albatross around their neck. And if you didn't have the means to afford an attorney, for many people, they just couldn't navigate it on their own.
Our criminal justice system is broken. And unfortunately, right now, our justice system is designed to serve people who have money, people who can afford it. Utah, like most other states, you see more people in poverty, people of low income, more people of color overrepresented in our criminal justice system. 1 in 4 Utahns have some type of criminal record.
A fairly significant number of Utahns who do have criminal records, most of those are for very minor offenses that folks think they can never get cleared from their record. I believe that our criminal justice system does best when we have a path for correction and redemption.
The idea of clean slate is if you meet the criteria, regardless of what your background is, how much money you make, where you came from, you're eligible for relief. Everybody, regardless of what their background is, deserves a second chance. There are a lot of benefits to expungement, particularly people who are trying to get back into the workforce. People who get their records expunged are 63% more likely to get a job offer, and just 1 year after having their record cleared, their wages go up 22%. So this law is going to be so impactful to people who right now are qualifying only for part-time, minimum wage jobs. It's just going to increase the opportunities available to them. We help our economy, help people transition off of government benefits, get better paying jobs, which improves our tax base. It's good for employers. Many employers who I've talked to have emphasized just how loyal some of these workers are. So at the end of the day, with our coalition, the law was unanimous. There wasn't a single legislator who voted against the law.
We're only the second state in the nation to have a clean slate law. The Utah legislature voted for this unanimously. That's a tremendous message. It was supported by so many stakeholders in society, so many stakeholders in the criminal justice system, including many public safety leaders like myself. My police department supports it because we recognize that once people can clean their slate, once they can start over, once they get that second chance, they can contribute in ways that perhaps they thought they couldn't before. And as we all know, thoughts drive behaviors. It benefits public safety. Many people don't look at this from the overall societal benefit. They look at the individual and say, oh, that's great for you. It benefits all of the rest of us. People without criminal records are more likely to go to school. They're more likely to get degrees. They're more likely to pay taxes. They're more likely to be the neighbor that's responsible and to really care, to be involved, to be voting, to be contributing to society, to be good mothers and good fathers. And that's an incredible benefit to all of us, including our police departments and sheriff's offices.
You finally have an endpoint to be free from this little sheet of paper. With Clean Slate Law, it fixes that gap that we've had in the system for so many years, to be able to give people hope again, to be a part of society again. It's unreal the amount of people that this is going to help, because it helps people exactly like me, clearing those misdemeanor, non-violent offenses.
It means so much to so many people to get that second chance, not only for themselves, but to break generational curses on families, addiction, poverty. Like, this is going to change lives for years and years and years to come. And then their children's lives, because they were able to do better.
So Clean Slate Utah is a nonprofit that was formed to raise awareness around the automatic expungement law. Our mission is to help people clear their criminal records and access more opportunities. So there are over 800,000 Utahns that are living with some type of criminal record. Having a criminal record makes it difficult to obtain housing, jobs, loans, other employment, in order to obtain licensure through DOPL. Having a criminal record is a huge barrier for that as well. Criminal records are usually digital and permanent unless somebody goes through the legal expungement process. So who is eligible for expungement? The government and Utah have a certain criteria for expungement. So you are not eligible for expungement under law if you have any open or pending cases. So if you're on probation or parole of any type, you would not qualify for expungement at the moment. You can't have more than 2 felony convictions, no more than 3 Class A convictions, no more than 4 Class B convictions, or 5 in the total setting. You have to have all your fees, fines, and restitution paid. And there are certain things that are not expungible, like first-degree felonies, violent felonies, sex offenses. If you are on a registry of any kind, it is not expungible as well. This is the process to obtain a court petition-based expungement, and it's pretty lengthy and overwhelming. Usually if I have to reduce the font on my PowerPoint, it's too complicated. So I don't think we need to go through every single step, but there are a lot of steps to do to get an expungement process. And the cost is one of the biggest barriers to do a court-based expungement process. The fees for expungement are a $65 application fee through the Bureau of Criminal Identification. And then they charge an additional $65 per case that you want to expunge. And then each court also charges a $150 filing fee per case for an expungement. So you're looking at about $280 per case to expunge. The most average that we're seeing through Clean Slate Utah are about 4 to 5 cases. So that's over $1,000 for someone to come out of pocket to get an expungement. The average wait time for an expungement usually is between 6 months and a year, and it's really hard to do it on your own. Currently, right now, there are 2 legislative pieces I want to tell you about. HB 392 was passed last legislative session, and what it does is it waives all government fees associated with expungement except for the $165 fee. So until June 30th of this year, all fees are waived except for the $65 application fee. And if somebody is under 300% of the federal poverty level, Clean Slate Utah can pay that $65 fee for them. This is another bill, SB 35, that passed last legislative session, and it allows for unlimited fees and fees to be expunged if the individual has been crime-free for 10 years. So Utah Clean Slate Law. The Clean Slate Law was passed in 2019, and we were the second in the nation to have a Clean Slate Law. Now there are 12 states that have a Clean Slate Law. Idaho just passed theirs yesterday, so they're now a new state that has a Clean Slate legislation. On February 10th of last year, they started implementing the law. However, it is rolling out extremely slow. So as of to date, between February 10th of last year and today, the state has expunged about 10% of the 450,000 records that need to be expunged. So it's rolling out really, really slow. What qualifies for the automatic expungement is a small bucket of charges. They have to be nonviolent misdemeanor charges. The only Class A that does qualify would be drug possessions. Most misdemeanor B, Cs, and all infractions will wrap into the Clean Slate Law, as well as dismissals or acquittals of any kind. On the automatic expungement law, the wait period is 1 year longer than a petition-based process. So what that means is that if your charges qualify under the Clean Slate Law, they also qualify to go get it cleared with the court. And what we're telling people right now is that may be your best option if you need relief now, since all the government fees are waived. It has taken the government a lot of time to catch up, and it may be a couple years before they clear everything that's eligible under the automatic law. So if your clients have things that are eligible now, I would recommend just going through the process and getting it started. You may get relief before the state catches up. It is great that we do have this Clean Slate Law, but there is a couple problems with it. One, the government has no notification requirements written in the law. So what this means is that they don't have to notify anybody at all that their records were automatically cleared under this law. Therefore, those people will still click those boxes saying, yes, they have a criminal record on employment applications, housing applications, and so forth. That's why Clean Slate Utah was formed. It was so that we can get loud in the community, raise awareness around it, and then also help people determine if they're eligible for the Clean Slate Law. And it does only apply to certain misdemeanor offenses. So a lot of the times we're seeing people that also have felonies or other Class A misdemeanors that do qualify for expungement. They just wouldn't be wrapped in the Clean Slate automatic law. So let me tell you a little bit about what Clean Slate Utah is. We're a nonprofit organization. Like I said, we were formed to raise awareness around the Clean Slate Law and then help people through the process. Our goals here at Clean Slate Utah is to work with a coalition between the government, BCI, the courts, to make sure that the law is fully being implemented correctly and that the needle keeps moving, even though it is moving slow. Our goal is to also let individuals with records be aware that they may qualify for this law, that they're going to be able to take advantage and they don't have to mark yes on those applications anymore. And then we also like to tell stories of people who have been directly impacted. So what we do is we meet as a coalition every single month with different organizations to get the word out on the street about the Clean Slate law and about Clean Slate Utah. We do have billboards around the state. We have launched a statewide public education campaign to let people be aware of this law. And then we also raise money to help people with their government fees and for the BCI fee so that they can get all the way to the end of expungement. We have launched our Fresh Start program. And what that is that we will meet with people through Zoom. So it doesn't matter where they are. They could even be in another state and have a Utah record. We'll meet with them. We will screen them, let them know what charges are automatically eligible, which ones may need a petition, and which ones may need a pardon. And we like to tell stories with people with records. So what we can provide for Clean Slate Utah is we answer general questions regarding expungement. We can also help them determine their eligibility. Knowledge is power. People walk into our office all the time and they have no idea if they're eligible, what it looks like, or if you're like me, I couldn't even remember all the charges I had racked up from years and years ago. So we can pull up the record together, look at it together, and then they can have a plan going forward. We cover government fees associated with expungement if somebody is 300% or lower of the federal poverty line. We have regular fingerprint clinics out here in Salt Lake County and in St. George. We are looking to expand out in Davis County if we can secure a location where somebody would let us come in and hold a fingerprint clinic. We have an agreement with BCI where we can do the fingerprinting ourselves. Oftentimes people with records or with a pass don't like to go into the police station or to the BCI centers and do their fingerprints. It's just the idea of having a cop do it for you. Most people don't like. So we do the fingerprints ourselves. We send it in ourselves. They only meet with us to get that started. We also are partnered with the SJ Law Clinic out here in Salt Lake County at the Legal Defender's Office. The first Thursday of every month, we hold an expungement clinic where pro bono law attorneys offer their time for free, and they'll help fill out the paperwork, answer any questions, and get going on that. The reason we partner with them is because Clean Slate Utah is a nonprofit. We don't have any lawyers on staff. So we can't give out legal advice. What we can do is give out support, resources, and partner with lawyers in the community. I took over this organization in June, and what I learned quickly was that I was turning people away who may need a pardon. So if somebody needs a pardon, that means they have more than 5 criminal charges on their record. And I didn't want to turn people away anymore. So what we have started now is pardon support. We help people start their pardon packet. We help them obtain all their police reports. The cost that's associated with that, we help them pay. We help them get all their court dockets. And just help them prepare to go in front of the Board of Pardons and ask for that pardon. We're able to do that not being lawyers because all it is a bunch of paperwork. That's all a pardon is a bunch of paperwork. We also have a list of legal resources for people in Utah and for every other state if they have charges in another state. We have a contact for every state person to look at their charges if they have them in other states. This is only for Utah. Each state has their own expungement laws, their own expungement criteria, but we can connect them to the right state. How do you know if your record was automatically cleared? So we do keep regular updates on our Facebook page. However, we don't have a list from the government saying whose record has been expunged. So what we do refer people to do is to create a My Case account at utahcourts.gov. And in order to create that My Case account, they would need their jurisdiction that their case was in, the case number, and the charge. And we can help them look up that information. Oh, I see there's a question.
Oh, yeah. Carrie just asked, is this for felon removal?
For felons?
For removal of felonies on your record, is that what you're asking?
Yep. The only felonies that cannot be expungible are first-degree felonies, aggravated felonies, sex crimes, crimes against children. Everything else is pretty much expungible, or you can get a pardon for.
Oh, I guess the pardon assistance, does that include federal felonies?
No, it's only state felonies. So if there are federal charges, there really isn't much of a pathway for a pardon besides the presidential pardon. Hopefully that will change in the future. Clean Slate Utah has partnered with a company called RASA. RASA has developed a mobile app that you can access on rasa-legal.com. The app does cost $15, but if you come through Clean Slate Utah, we access it for you for free since we're a nonprofit. And what the app does is somebody would put in their name, their birthday, and verify their identity with their social, and it would pull up their entire record. And it would tell them in buckets which ones are eligible now, which ones are automatically eligible, and which ones they're in a waiting period for, and if they need a pardon. So they'll know within 2 to 3 minutes what their entire record looks like. We get to use that app for free because we have a great partnership with RASA. And if they come through Clean Slate Utah, we can give them their account for free and they won't have to pay the $15. So how can you guys help? We want to help. We want to get the word out that Clean Slate Utah exists and that we can help people with their government fees associated with expungement, and that we can help them figure out whether they do qualify or not. Spread the word, talk to your friends and family, and then also support expungement policy efforts up on the Hill. So the reason HB 392, the fee waiver program, is going to sunset in June is because it did not get past committee this session. So we are working towards trying to get it passed again in the interim. Representative Lisenby, who is the Davis County representative, she had a competing bill against ours, and she would have won. If she would have won, it would have ended the fee waiver 6 months early. So we decided to pull both bills and let the money run out until June. We will be going back up there and trying to find a common ground with Representative Dunnigan and Lisenby to try to keep the fee waivers in place. Having the fee waivers in place makes expungement accessible for everyone. And since that fee waiver has gone into place 1 year ago, expungements are up 300% since then. I'm open for any questions. I guess I could look in the chat.
We do have a couple in the chat. I'm watching the chat, but Margie asked if my most recent misdemeanor charge is 19.5 years old, would I be eligible for automatic expungement?
Yeah, you should be. It's hard to answer case by case basis, but I can throw our intake form in the chat. And then if you fill it out, someone can look up your record. They'll make an appointment with you via Zoom. It only takes about 5 minutes for us to look it up. But if it's a low-level misdemeanor record, then yes. So the wait periods on expungement are, for the clean slate law, 7 years for a Class A misdemeanor, 6 years for a Class B, 5 years for a Class C. So that means you have to remain crime-free for that amount of years. But if you qualify for the automatic expungement, the wait times for a petition base is 1 year less. So I would just encourage somebody to fill out the form, let us look at your record, and we can let you know right away. And then we'll also give you the access to that RASA app that I just told you about. Dismissals, I see there's a question about dismissals. Dismissals can be expunged after 30 days.
And then one person asked about how they could volunteer with your organization.
Well, we're not taking any volunteers right now at the moment, but we do when we have big events. So just recently we partnered with the NBA, the Jazz, and RASA, and had a huge expungement clinic at the Vivint Arena. We did utilize tons of volunteers there, but I would just sign up for our mailing list. We always throw out emails when we are doing events to get volunteers.
Cool. And someone asked how they get in contact with your team. I think I saw a slide with that contact information, or we can send that out.
Yeah, I put the intake form on the website, but I can also put my email address. I'll put that in there.
Do y'all have any questions?
And then our website I'll put in here too.
Oh, you sent that just to me.
Or did I? Well, can you please send it to everyone else?
Oh,
Because this one's coming to you too.
Mhm.
Let's see. Let me see everyone. Okay, and then I'll put the RASA website on here as well.
I guess, and so what if a service provider wanted to help someone, would they just kind of advise the client to go fill out the form themselves, or is there an alternate way a service provider could help? Or is it pretty basic, just having the client fill out the form?
Well, we do work with a lot of different service providers. We're partnered with the homeless resource centers down here and some people that are in treatment facilities. If they're in a facility and they're one of your clients and you need to communicate for them, then we would want an ROI. That way we can communicate with you if they're in an inpatient treatment center or if they're in a center. If they're not and they want to reach out to us directly, they can do that as well.
Okay. Cool.
And we usually get back to people within the week to set up a Zoom. We'll send them out a link so they can pick a time to set up a Zoom.
And then Rain asked how they could get you to come to their facility for fingerprinting.
Yeah, we're more than happy to come out anytime to do that. What we would want to do is come out, screen them while we're there, and then if they qualify, we can fingerprint them. So it would be 2 to 3 minutes per person, but we can come out, screen them, fingerprint them while we're there, and start the process.
Do you have any requirements?
Time to do that.
Do you have any requirements for the space, or is it just really an open space?
No, just anytime, any space. I mean, if the client wants more privacy, they might need just a little space to talk over on the side, if the client would want that.
Cool. And then Wendy said they're a case manager for Iron County Care and Share. Can they just use the Google form to send in requests for their clients? Or is it again just wanting more of the client to complete the form themselves?
Well, no, anybody can complete the form and we'll reach out and do the Zoom. So if they want to complete it for their client, the only problem is when we're creating the person's account, we need the last 4 of their social. So they should be present when we are going to do our Zoom with them.
Okay.
So they can fill out the form, they can set up the appointment, and then when it's time for the Zoom, if we don't have an ROI, we'll need to have the client there.
Awesome. And then if someone gets their records expunged and then reoffends, would they be eligible for expungement again? Or is there any, I guess my question, is there any circumstances where that expungement would be reversed, or is it a permanent action?
Well, I guess that depends. So let's say you get a pardon for murder, which is possible and not very likely, and then 10 years later you commit another murder, then they can unseal your expungement. But most times if you have an expungement, and let's say you reoffend 10 years later and it's minor misdemeanor, you can get it expunged again once you meet that criteria again. Expungement isn't a one-time deal. You can do it multiple times.
Cool.
So Cody, I have a question.
Yeah, one question here.
So does their probation have to be successfully terminated for them to get an expungement?
Their probation has to be successfully terminated for them to get the automatic clearance. However, their case just needs to be closed to go through the court-based process. And to apply for any expungement at all, it has to be closed.
Okay. I have a lot of questions. Is it all right if I just contact you personally? It's
Yeah.
about participant. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And another one asked, do you have flyers that you could pass out, or if you send one to me, I can send it out to everyone that joined this.
Yeah, if you send me your address, or when we come down to do fingerprints, one or the other, I can either mail some out, drive some out. Yeah, I can drop some flyers off. If I have an address, I can drive down there and drop them off.
Awesome. And then with you behavioral health, did you to present?
Yes, I can quit.
Okay, and we have a quick presenter, which you're finished also, just to everyone to know. Latino Behavioral Health wanted to explain some of their services.
Okay.
Just to stay on, but let's see. They asked if there's a virtual flyer. Like, do you have a PDF that you could
I
send?
do have a PDF I can send out. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I
can throw it in the
sure.
chat, and I'll find it as Latino Behavioral Health is speaking. I'll find it and throw it in the chat.
Awesome. Is there any other questions for Destiny or Clean Slate Utah? If not, I think we're all good. Yeah, we'll have someone from Latino Behavioral Health come up right now and explain some services.
All right, so my name is Catherine. I work with the nonprofit organization Latino Behavioral Health. So we provide mental health services and behavioral services to the Latinx community. Here in Utah, we have bases in Salt Lake City, Provo, Ogden, and Park City, but our main office is in Salt Lake. And basically, we work with all different communities, and we don't turn anyone away. But the great thing about our nonprofit organization is that we are all bilingual, and so we do help with that language barrier. So here specifically in Ogden, we have a few classes. Next week we have a How to Be Angry class, where we teach elementary school students anger management classes and emotional intelligence. And that will be Tuesdays from 5 to 7. It's a 7-week course. We also have the summer Forza, which is a mental health leadership group for teenagers from junior high school to high school ages. And we are also, we also host craft in Spanish. And so for those of you who don't know what craft is, it's basically helping family members with substance use disorders. So trying to think what other things. So that's kind of what we're doing up here in Ogden, but we have very similar classes in Provo and in Salt Lake City. We offer the biggest thing that we do is that we offer peer mentorship. So we help a lot of clients with teaching them coping skills, and we're very goal oriented, and we use our own experiences with mental illness and other recovery processes to help people in the community feel better and also be able to contribute as much as possible to functioning member of society. So yeah, we host a lot of groups, and does anybody have any questions?
I have a question on qualifications. Is there are there income limits on qualifying for services?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. So for the peer mentorship, we use a sliding scale, and so all of that is determined through our office, but our groups and classes are all free.
The classes, do they need to be in certain areas, or like the county, like the boundaries?
No, we don't really there's some people at Ogden that prefer to go to the Salt Lake City classes or get mentoring or therapy in Salt Lake City, so it doesn't really matter, but it's just easier if you live in Ogden to go to Ogden classes.
What ages are the classes for what age?
Yeah, so for How to Be Angry, it's elementary school ages, and for Forza, it's junior high and high school. And then with the Pan con Café, that's just adults 18 and up. So that's more of a community circle.
Sorry.
So that's a mental health leadership group. So we help students be involved with community service. We also teach them about coping skill strategies, talk to them about mental health, and yeah, we just help them be involved and not just on board.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Where do you host these groups?
So right now with the Ogden office, thank you for that question. With the Ogden office, we are the human service first floor.
Someone asked a question, but it was pretty much answered. So it seems like there's programs for kids in elementary, then teens, and some adults, but they're all different purposes
Yes.
for different age groups.
That's correct. Yes, and there are more classes in Salt Lake. It's just that we're a smaller group out in Ogden. And some of the classes are hybrid, so people can join online as well. For example, in the Salt Lake one, they have like a grief support group. They have, trying to think what else. They have a group for people that do have substance uses. And I think in the one in Park City, they're having like a group where it's cooking and chatting. So a lot of it, we do have a cultural framework and with our Latin American culture. So there's a lot of, that's kind of what makes us a little different than other nonprofit groups. And then I think someone asked about.
That's about that information,
Yeah.
but that's more of the Salt Lake.
Yeah, that's and I don't even think that's accurate actually. I don't think it's on Morris. Let me double check. Because I think the website still has the old address. So it's actually 3269 South Main Street. So that one up there is incorrect. I don't know if you.
Okay, they should be able to hear. So the one in Salt Lake.
It's this one. I don't know if you want to type it.
Okay, I can type in the right address. Oh, they got it.
Yep, that's the one.
Cool.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions? And then I guess you said the services are available to everyone, right? I guess
Yeah.
they're kind of like culturally put together for,
Yeah, so
I guess. Or,
for example, I do mentoring at the schools, and so I do presentations, and if there's a student that's not like, Latin American and wants to talk, like we'll do that. But it's just that bilingual portion that really helps people that can't get services in Spanish.
yeah, kind of be based culturally set up maybe better for people, Spanish speaking individuals and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, everyone.
And one more question, how do people find out about times and days and everything?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook group or a Facebook page, an Instagram page. I have flyers out there in the back, and I also have swag if anyone wants the swag.
I said I could email some flyers too.
Oh yeah, and that would
To
help
the
as
group
well.
to everyone that participated, I can email the flyers out.
I do. I have a question. The emotional support line, is that just for calling or is that texting as well?
I believe it's just calling for now.
Okay.
Thank you. All my questions.
For these classes, do they register before they go, right?
Yes, but if you go, we'll just help you register. You can register on your phone or on your computer.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks to everyone online. I will email out all this information that I promised, links and flyers and stuff. And then that email will also have the recording of this that you can check out and let us know if you have any questions. But thanks for attending.